Oh boy, let's talk about the next generation, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 4, originally titled The Return of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. This came out in 1995, but then they pulled it and shelved it for a couple of years because they realized this movie is dog shit. And then when the lead two actors got popular, they tried to re-release it with their faces on the poster, and I heard they weren't too happy about that. This movie was written and directed by Kim Henkel, who did the original, he co-wrote the original movie, and so you're wondering what went wrong. How is it that the guy who co wrote the first one, which is a classic, managed to somehow write this one, which is so dreadful in every way imaginable, and has like a 3.3 on IMDb? When a movie is in the threes on IMDb, you know it's dog shit. So, this one tells the story about a group of high school kids leaving prom early, and then they just crash their car, and now they are bumping into the Slaughter family, not the Sawyer family anymore, and they're getting picked off. And yeah, so this one, the only good thing I could say about Texas Chainsaw Massacre 4 is that I never have to watch it again. This is the second time I've seen this movie, and it's the last time I'll ever see it. But the good thing about this movie is Matthew McConaughey. He is the only thing in this movie that is worth watching. Just watch YouTube clips of his crazy, whacked out performance, and even listen to the interview that he did in the last 5 years or so, where he explains the audition and how he got the role. That stuff's much more interesting and entertaining than the movie itself. So let's get into my dislikes. We'll start off kind of small. So once again, just like part 3, bad continuity. So this movie in the opening crawl acknowledges 2 and 3 by saying that there was a couple of incidents after part 1, so you automatically connect the dots and you go, oh, so that means they're acknowledging 2 and 3, those are the 2 incidents. But then you still have to question, well, if we're acknowledging 2, how is Leatherface alive? He should be dead because of part 2, what happened? And now the leg brace thing, his handicap in part 3 is no longer here anymore. Where did it go? What is he, Dewey and Scream 3 and 4? His handicap just kind of comes and goes whenever it wants. Doesn't make sense. This movie also overuses the iconic camera sound from part 1. Don't know why they use it so much in this one. It's like they knew people loved it, so they're like, let's give it to them in large doses. Just keep throwing that sound in here, even when pictures aren't being taken. It's stupid. And then they overuse fog machines in the movie. You can just see like fog machines going off in the background. Every scene that takes place at night outside has fog rolling everywhere, and it's very inconsistent how thick and thin it is. It's just flowing everywhere. It's fucking insane. This movie looks awful too. It just looks like a made-for-TV Texas Chainsaw Massacre film. They overlight everything. It's so bright. When they're outside, it's funny that they even need flashlights because you can see everything in the woods for a mile. Like, you can see dust in the air. Why do they need flashlights? And how the kids bump into the Sawyers was just poorly written. It's so stupid and idiotic how this situation was even created. So they leave prom, and then it just hard cuts. They're lost, and now there's a car crash. So we're recreating part 3 again. Like, it's the same thing as part 3. They get in the car crash. Now here's the Sawyers. But it's like, why were they out there? So the chick was mad at her boyfriend and then took them out for a drive. Didn't realize there was these 2 other people in the back seat, and those 2 people in the back seat never at any point said, "Hey, can you stop the car? We didn't mean to be like, sorry for breaking into your car to smoke pot, but can you take us back to prom? We don't want to go on your angry ride into the woods and getting lost." Like, why didn't they stop the car sooner? It makes no sense. And the characters in this movie are absolutely awful. Renee Zellweger, her character is so whatever. Like, I don't even know her name. And then her acting, it's so bad you're wondering how the fuck she ever got a career in Hollywood. She was not trying in this movie, I can tell you that. And no one else was trying either. Maybe Matthew McConaughey was trying, but no one's trying in this movie. Like, the acting in this movie is so abysmal. It is the worst in the franchise. You got awful characters, people you don't give a shit about. They're so annoying. You got the typical airhead who's so moronic. It's unbelievable. And she's dating this piece of shit jock guy who's cheating on her at prom before it's even really starting, outside of prom, like in front of the school, in front of everybody, and is surprised that he got caught, and acts like it's her fault somehow. Like, you should have been fucking me, babe. You know, don't you know if you don't have sex with guys, they get like ass cancer or some shit? Like, he's so stupid. And every kill in this movie sucks. They're recreations of part one, but they're not done anywhere near as effective. And that's another thing about this movie, is that until like 80 minutes in, this movie is completely repetitive of part one. It is derivative. It's the same fucking movie, but just done way worse because the characters are worse. The dialogue is dreadful. I hate the dialogue in this movie, and the acting's worse. Like, everything is like part one, but worse. They're doing the same shit. Car breaks down. They bump into crazy family. Leatherface is chasing them, jumps out the window, breaks the door with a chainsaw, chicken on the hook, chick in the freezer, guy gets hit with a sledgehammer, his legs start to shake on the ground. Like, nothing is original here, but then they do try to throw something in here that's a little different from the other movies. It's very shoehorned in at the last fucking second, like the last 10 minutes of the movie, and that's the whole secret society, like Illuminati fucking subplot they throw in here, coming out of absolutely fucking nowhere, and it's not needed. All it is an explanation for why are they doing this. Like, we needed that answer, really. I've always wondered, why are the Sawyers eating people and killing them? Well, it's because the government, or whoever the fuck these people are, want them to. This movie fails to be funny. I think it's trying to be like a parody of part one, really. It seems kind of insulting. It's like this movie is a prank on us. But like, Kim Henkel is like mad that his first movie got so popular, so he's like remaking it, but purposely making it shitty to say fuck you. Like, I'm gonna try to purposely kill the franchise so that you can't make more. I don't know what he's trying to do with this movie. Like, it's so fucking awful. It's trying to be like scary in moments, I think, and then it's trying to be like a spoof almost of the first movie. But the humor, all of it, does not land. Nothing in this movie makes me laugh or smile, except for when Matthew McConaughey just gets all bugged out and crazy and wild with his fucking performance. That's it. And the final nail in the coffin that really just seals it for me, that makes this movie an absolute big pile of shit, unwatchable, is the character of Leatherface, the iconic character from the original, the one that we mainly go see these movies for. He's been fucking watered down to this not scary, loud, screaming, crying little bitch. And they take that, that he dresses up like a woman kind of in part one aspect. They take that and they dial that up to 11 in this one, to where now he's not just wearing the woman's face, but he's got makeup applied on it, like with a wig, a dress, like everything, the nail polish, like he got a manicure. This should have been called Texas Chainsaw Manicure. So final thoughts, this to me is just trash cinema at its worst. This is easily one of the worst part fours in any franchise. I can't name one worse than this. Like, this is just bottom of the barrel garbage to me. I can't see how anyone gets any enjoyment from this. It's not funny. If that's what it's going for, it's not funny. It's not scary. The dialogue is really rough. The acting is shit. Maybe on purpose because they knew it was a bad film, but the direction's awful. The lighting, cinematography, fuck. I don't know what they're going for. If this is supposed to be scary or a parody of part one, but what I do know is that I fucking hate this movie. So when it comes to Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Next Generation, I'm giving this a generous 1 out of 5 stars. Alright, spoiler discussion. So, opening crawl, once again, 4 movies in a row. This movie says it takes place in 1996, even though it came out in 95 and it was filmed in 94. I don't know why the time jump, but whatever. So, they acknowledged the 2 incidents in 2 and 3, but like I already said, how can that be? Iconic camera sound effect in part 1 is brought back, and they use it like 10 times when they're getting their photos taken at the prom. Barry is cheating on his girlfriend, and he just keeps, bringing her down, talking shit to her, talking shit about Renee Zellweger. Like, these people aren't friends. There's no good chemistry between them, so you're just like, you don't care about any of them. You just want them all fucking dead less than 10 minutes in. And he says, shut up, like 10 times. You shut up. You shut up. They all have like a catchphrase. His is shut up. And Renee Zellweger's is, what are you going to do? What are you going to do to me? What are you going to do to her? What are you going to do? What are you going to do to me? She says it like 40 times in the movie. Count. And so Renee and this other dude, they're in the back seat smoking pot. So they broke into Barry's car. It's Barry's, right? So they broke into his like fancy sports car. Why would you keep the car unlocked, you moron? See, he's a fucking idiot. So they break into his car to smoke weed. And then she caught Barry cheating, so she storms off in his car. I guess she had his keys. So is it her car? I don't fucking care. So they're driving off, and she almost gets in a wreck. And at no point do they ever say, like, stop the car. Or if they do, she doesn't listen, and they don't try hard enough to make this crazy bitch stop the car like they should. Like, she runs a stop sign, nearly crashes, and then a few minutes later, they do crash because of her driving. But they get lost. How did they get lost? Where was she driving to? Like, I'm going to get in your car, or my car, whichever it is, and I'm just going to drive for miles into the middle of fucking nowhere. Where was she heading? What was her destination? Home? She would know how to get back home. But why did the two in the back seat never speak up? Like, hey, we're not a part of this. We were just trying to find a place to smoke pot. So can you drop us back off, please? No, just, the writing sucks balls. And then they bump into this one girl, Darla or whatever, and she just flashes her tits, and you know it's like a body double because they cut to like a close-up so you don't see the actress's face, so it's somebody else's tits. But she's just flashing her tits to random people, so that's like our first boob shot in the franchise, really. And so, yeah, another car crash, just like part 3, so nothing different here. And another leg brace, once again, except it's not Leatherface who has the leg problem, it's Vilmer. He is Leatherface's brother that we never saw in part 1. So I don't know who this other guy is, but I did kind of find it somewhat funny that he kept quoting people. And then when we're introduced to Vilmer, he goes to the guy on the ground who fainted, and the other guy who was with Renee says, he's still alive. And Vilmer's like, no, he's dead. And he's like, no, he was just talking. He says something, but then Vilmer's like, he cracks his neck. He's like, well, he's fucking dead now. So that was pretty funny. And then he says, what are you going to do to me? That's what everyone in this movie says. What are you going to do to me? And then he says, I'm just going to kill you. Ain't no fucking biggie. I thought that was a great line. So then we get this thing that happens in a lot of movies, especially terrible ones, where there's a car chase and the other person's like on foot. So it's like a car chasing a person, and they're just running down the center of the street instead of running into the woods behind a tree where they can't get ran over. So the guy gets ran over because he's a dipshit who can't run into the fucking woods that are on both sides of the road that he can just quickly dive into and get to safety where you can't get ran over. But he gets ran over like a moron, deservingly so, and then he just runs over him like 12 times. I actually counted. It was 12 times Vilmer runs over this dumb son of a bitch. Usually in horror movies you get the traditional cat scare, but in this one they decided to change it up a bit, and we get a garbage bag scare. Yeah, somebody threw a garbage bag outside, and it's just been floating down this lonely, old, abandoned road to nowhere, and it just hits her right in the face just to give us a jump scare. So then we get this whole sequence where it's recreating the first 2 victims in part 1. It's creating that whole scene. So Heather goes inside. She was on the swing outside, so it's kind of like the swing in part 1, but it's on the front porch. And then she goes inside. She starts screaming. Her boyfriend hears her screaming bloody murder. But then by the time he finally gets to where he thinks she's at, he just starts to take a piss. Like, she was never screaming before. He's like, hey, babe. Like he's just having a casual conversation, thinking that she's in the other room. Like, he's not questioning, like, hey, why are you screaming? Is everything okay? Like, that never comes out of his mouth. And then she's in the freezer, and, Leatherface doesn't, like, seal it shut. He doesn't, like, lock it, so she keeps, like, coming back out of the freezer. And he's, like, confused, like, well, I thought she would just stay perfectly still inside, but she keeps getting out. What do I do? And he puts something on top of it. And then Barry gets the hammer to the face, And then that's all we see. Like, he's dead, thank God, but it was just such a lame fucking kill. It's nowhere near as good as the first one. I don't even think he does like the leg convulsion thing, but whatever. There's no blood. There's hardly any blood in this movie. It's so damn tame. And then the girl gets taken out of the freezer and she gets put on the meat hook. And this girl gets put through the ringer, man. She gets tortured so much. She is like Ken in part 3, who never died. She is never dying in this movie. She gets put in the freezer for a while. Then she gets put on the meat hook, and then she is found later on, and then like beat by the woman, and then she gets thrown. No, she gets lit on fire, and then she gets her skull crushed. Like, it's just one thing after another. This poor girl Heather just keeps getting hurt so many times, and you keep thinking that maybe she's dead, but she keeps coming back. So then, just like in part 1, we get this chase with the final girl, and she runs inside. He chainsaws the door down. You ruin the damn doors. And then chases her upstairs. Like, she goes up, and then she comes back down to go right back up again. Like, it's the same fucking thing. Like, it's choreographed and shot almost the same way as part 1. And then she jumps out the window, and it's just like Sally. And then she's in like this like greenhouse, and I thought it was funny that she goes out the door. It's wide open. Leatherface could go out that door too to follow her, but instead just runs through the wall of the greenhouse very dramatically. And then another thing that's recreated here is the whole scene at the gas station in part 1 where Sally bumps into the cook. In this one, she bumps into that one chick. I don't know what her profession is, but she bumps into her. She's at like her office, and then the one guy comes and she's like, I thought you were gonna bring a gunny sack like in part 1, but instead they take like a trash bag and put it over her, and instead of a broom this time they're using like a cattle prod, something to shock her with. So, but it's like the same scene in part 1, just tweaked and changed ever so slightly, but it's the same fucking scene. And I thought it was so funny the way she said chainsaw. Listen to the way Renee Zellweger says chainsaw when she's talking to that chick about what just happened. She's like, he had a chainsaw. He had a chainsaw. I swear he had. It was just so funny to me. So then she puts her in the trunk, drives off to go get pizza at like a drive-through pizza joint. Never seen such a thing. Usually it's fast food, like burgers and shit. But this is a drive-through, like Domino's type of thing. And she orders 2 mediums and 1 large, but yet all 3 boxes are the same exact size. And then when he hands her drinks, he hands her 2 paper bags, 2 white paper bags. Like, when someone hands you your drinks, it's never in bags. What the fuck's going on there? Like, here's your drinks. I put them in these 2 paper bags instead of the cup holder things. And there's like cops behind her, and she just casually goes around at, she's kicking and screaming in the trunk. She opens it up like, can you shut up? Here, I'll poke a hole. Just keep it down back there. Like, not scared that she might get caught. Are the police involved too? Like, there's no fucking way those cops behind didn't know what was up. It was just a ridiculous scene. I guess this is where it's supposed to be funny, right? But it doesn't work, because at this point in the movie, I'm already like, fuck this film. So Heather somehow pulled herself off the hook, even though that buff dude in the remake couldn't do it to save his life. She somehow had that upper arm strength to pull herself off that hook, and now she's crawling in the road. And this is kind of similar-ish, now that I think about it, to when the hitchhiker is in the road, and, he's like getting beat by the cook. But in this one, so she's on the road, the Darla chick, she gets out, grabs a stick, and tries to beat her with it, but look at how she does it. It's so pathetic. I guess it's supposed to be funny, but I'm just like so pissed at the film that it's just another thing that annoys me. Then we get the best scene in the movie, the only scene that you need to look up on YouTube, and that's the scene with Matthew McConaughey, grabbing the shotgun, putting it in his own mouth, and then raising it in the air, and then just chanting and yelling, cuts his own chest like the hitchhiker in the original. And then he bites the one chick's nose, like Heather. Heather gets her nose like bit off. Like this poor girl, like I said, she just keeps getting injured throughout. So then at some point, the final girl, she gets up. She's like, I've had enough of this shit. And I'm like, I agree. I'm right there with you. I've had enough of this shit. Can we get to the end, please? And then Leatherface is doing his constant screaming, ah! And then she's like, shut up. Again, speaking for me, because that's what I'm saying too. Like, please, yeah, shut the fuck up, Leatherface. And then he listens like a little bitch. Like Halloween Resurrection, Michael Myers listening to Busta Rhymes. We get that here. She's like, I'm fed up with your shit, Leatherface. Shut up and sit down. He's like, okay. And then she just walks outside and then gets in the car, starts driving off. But before she can get too far, Vilmer, instead of just running out the front door, went upstairs to jump off the roof to make a more dramatic entrance. Like, what the fuck? Like, why would he do that? And at some point during this dinner scene that they're trying to, redo from part one, you got the grandpa there. At some point, grandpa, who you thought was dead the whole time, just opens his eyes, looks around, is like, where am I? And then stands up and just walks out. Bye-bye, gone from the film, never seen again. And then as she's driving off, for some reason, the hood of the car just pops open like Tommy Boy, but what the fuck caused that? Vilmer couldn't have done it on the outside of the car, could he? And he didn't really have much time to. He quickly slid off the car, so it's not like he could have popped it open, but whatever. So now I'm really nitpicking, but I like how Matthew McConaughey, when he's inside the house, he's like, all right, all right, all right. Isn't that like his slogan? So it started here. Every remote control in the house controls his leg. It's just another aspect of the movie that's supposed to be funny, but it's just so stupid. So then Heather, poor girl, gets lit on fire, and in between shots, you can see that she's clearly no longer lit on fire. And then Vilmer goes over and stomps on her head, crushes her skull, and looks like he's about to orgasm as he's doing it. And so then, all of a sudden, here comes the Illuminati, I'll call them, because I don't know if they ever say that in the movie, but that's who they are, really. They're the Illuminati, and they hired the family to bring horror into people's lives, to scare the Jesus out of people for some fucking reason. I don't know. I don't know. I'm lost. Why? And then the guy has this awful stomach, all this body horror has been done to him, and he's got all these scars and nipple rings all over his body. It's just another layer of craziness. They're just trying to make it extra crazy by adding that in there. And then, so Vilmer, he runs outside with Leatherface. They're chasing the final girl, and he starts speaking in the third person for some reason. Vilmer something something. Just thought that was interesting that out of nowhere he just started speaking in third person. But then he kind of quotes Chop Top. He goes, "Get that bitch, Leatherface." And then, so she hops into an RV instead of a semi-truck this time, and you think she's going to escape, but then they kind of recreate the bridge scene in part two. Leatherface is on the back of the truck, and when you're watching this scene, you can tell that the chainsaw's not even on. When he's hitting the RV, you would think that there would be sparks flying like in part two, because that's a better movie. They actually pay attention to more detail in that one. In this one, you can tell the chainsaw's not working. It's not on. There's no blade on it. And he's purposely avoiding the RV, not actually hitting it. But when he does hit it, there's no sparks coming off. So it's just another fucking thing that pisses me off. And then, then the RV crashes. She gets out. We never see the RV couple again. So are they dead? I don't know. And then this plane that's just flying by, it's a small plane. It comes down. I guess it knows that this is, bad people. I need to help out. So it goes down, kills Vilmer, but somehow avoided hitting Renee Zellweger, who was 5 feet in front of them. How did that small plane go down, hit Vilmer in the face, but barely do any fucking damage to it, and then quickly get back up before hitting Renee at the same time? There's no fucking way. And then she just hops into the limo with the Illuminati, and then they just take her to a hospital and apologize for everything that happened to her. Oh, we're sorry, it wasn't supposed to go down that way. So here, we'll take you to the hospital. And then we get the recreation of the chainsaw dance again, but they kind of cut it short. He starts doing the dance, he's swinging the chainsaw, and then it just cuts. But yeah, And he's still screaming and crying like a little bitch and pissing me off. And then we get shoehorned cameos from the original. We got the actor who played Grandpa playing like this cop. And then we get Sally on a gurney being pushed by the actor playing Franklin, I believe, right? So it's funny how the roles are kind of reversed there. In the original, Sally was pushing the brother around. Now she's the one getting pushed around by the actor playing Franklin. So, yeah, and that's the end of the movie. Nothing else to say here. I will say that Leatherface has nice teeth. I wrote that down. Like, what happened to his teeth? See, bad continuity. What happened? In the original, his teeth were jacked up. And now he's got, like, a better smile than me. I guess eating humans is good for your teeth. So, yeah. Or he's got a really fucking good dental plan provided by the Illuminati. So, they have good dental insurance. When you join the Illuminati, they help you out. But, whatever. Fuck this movie. What are your thoughts on it? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, if you like what you've seen here, you can hit this like button and become a subscriber today just by clicking on my cartoon face in about 5 seconds. And remember, it's all an opinion. You don't need to get butthurt about it.